I was in the visitors gallery the morning the spiral assembly ejected the Terran Union. From my tiered perch, the third balcony, row 17, historian's allotment, I watched the vote gemstones flash red, red, red until they outshone the chamber's skylight. 112 member polities affirmed that Homo sapiens, species 473-A, was detrimental to systemic equilibrium. 4 voted no. We Thren were 3 of those 4, and a lone Navaran scholar cast the 4th, her eye stalks trembling as she did so. The Dais secretary recorded our dissent with the same board efficiency she might log rainfall in a desert. Official reasons floated down in glacial legalese. Unpredictable innovation, disruptive cultural virality, unacceptable proliferation of unregulated microtech. The unspoken reason hummed beneath every syllable. The humans kept reminding us how timid we had become. They constructed warp relays out of scrap, turned disaster relief into a street festival, laughed whenever someone said, "That's impossible." In the tidy colonnades of the assembly hall, such exuberance felt uncouth, as though the gardeners had discovered a weed willing to outgrow the roses. The Terran ambassador, Dr. Aish Mbatha, accepted the verdict with a bow no deeper than protocol required. She gathered her data slates, glanced toward the public gallery, and found me. I raised 2 fronds in the Thren gesture for history sees you. She smiled, faint, rueful, then walked out beneath banners that, by the Assembly's own order, would never again display the cobalt and white spiral of Sul. Earth's networks detonated in outrage for 3 local days. Hashtags, satire, vids, petitions. Then the planet moved on. Rent was still due, babies still wailed, coffee still brewed. I secured leave from my university and booked low-tier passage to Sul, determined to chronicle the aftermath. The Assembly's directive barred official transports, but the ban contained enough loopholes to fly a moon through. I simply purchased a ticket on an independent ore hauler and annotated my purpose as ethnographic observer. No one challenged me. Luna greeted me with rust-orange dusk. Beneath the arch of Shackleton City's plasma dome, I found humanity not weeping, but humming, literally. A choir of off-duty engineers rehearsed in the plaza, harmonizing equations into gospel cadences. The lyrics were Maxwell's laws set to syncopated claps. Children chased micro-drones that wrote jokes in sparklight across the sky. This embargo brought to you by the letter FTL. I interviewed welders, botanists, a retired oceanographer now sculpting jade green algae into lamps. Each shrugged at the ban. "We've been locked out before," said the sculptor, Matty Hara, fingertips green with chlorophyll. "Every colonial frontier is a kind of exile, makes the muscles learn." Mars had once withheld Luna's water. Earth had withheld Martian titanium. Jupiter's moon squabbled over helium-3. Exclusion was, to humans, less a cage than a puzzle box begging to be solved. Supply shortages did arrive. Slow squeezes on rare earth catalysts, on quantum-grade sapphire, on the enzyme seeds that ate malignant tumors. Hospitals rationed, farms dimmed their grow lamps. But the shortage revealed a secret I suspect the Assembly never guessed. Humanity did not keep its cleverness confined to gleaming research institutes. It lay dormant in suburban garages, in pirate message boards, in hobby clubs whose membership lists read like delinquent census data. The moment gates and quotas closed, the undercommons bloomed. Zara Kulik was first. A moon-faced pilot with laugh wrinkles deeper than crater rims, she showed me her patent application, time-stamped 2 years before the ban, for adaptive thermoelectric barnacles. She'd spliced photosynthetic proteins into metamaterial lattices, slapped one on hot metal, it grew fins until temperatures leveled, then hardened to ceramic. During the embargo's 4th month, she grew 100 tons of the thing's inside Ceres station's abandoned water tanks, and sold precisely none. She open-sourced the code instead. The license read, "If you paid more than a smile for this design, demand a refund." Freighters festooned themselves with silver barnacles. Reactor outages plunged from weekly to practically never. Assembly auditors noticed traffic through the belt rising rather than falling and filed memos that vanished into their own bureaucracy. Titan followed, a trio of biohackers, one deaf, one non-binary, one who insisted their legal name was Fiasco, modded algae printers so the microbes grew extra ribosomes, chewing fog and nitrogen into a spongy cumin-scented protein. They named it Shift. Recipes spread on the Array Ghost, a mesh network nobody outside Seoul had ever heard of. Here is where the story tightens. The Array Ghost began as a back-alley overlay for gamers dodging corporate paywalls, then mutated when a collective of middle-aged plumbers and school teachers, yes, those plumbers, re-engineered Relay firmware the assembly trusted entirely too much. Their patch installed self-routing heuristics, encryption as optional as sugar and tea, and a sense of humor meaner than a solar flare. With every relay the assembly logged down, the Ghost learned a new hop. They called that evolutionary algorithm Sneaky Leak. One night, every certified relay across 3 arms downloaded an assembly patch to block malign Terran packets. The patch bricked itself, rebooted in loops, and broadcast 1970s Monty Python sketches. When the chair of the Economic Security Committee discovered her official channel stuck reenacting the Ministry of Silly Walks, she called it terrorism. The Plumber Collective replied with a public post, "It's only a flesh wound." The assembly issued warrants. Warrants require borders, Sneaky Leak erased them. Meanwhile, fringe settlements, Avern's Cradle, Tholos Rift, the ice inlets of Far Nix, downloaded designs for water purifiers that ran on colored sand and sunshine. They brewed Shift in converted engine cowlings and printed barnacle radiators from moondust. They installed open-source, human-written medical software that scanned for tumors by analyzing laboratory flush acoustics. Every fix were a playful disclaimer, brought to you by Species 473-A, currently unavailable in your sector. Please enjoy anyway. 8 months after the expulsion, the Navarone Heptarchy's only orbital foundry died in a solar flare. Assembly relief would take half a cycle. 4 Terran university dropouts loaded a bundle of cube fabbers on a droplet drive courier, used a gravity cheat to shave weeks off the route, and reached Navarra in 6 days. The swarm unfurled like silver flower petals, printing girders in vacuum, forging alloy under starlight. When assembly envoys finally docked, the foundry blazed good as new, and her hull displayed a mural of a Terran child offering a wrench to a Navarran hatchling. Underneath, in 5 scripts, a line read, "Fixing things is how we say hello." Assembly censors attempted a narrative. Humans were manipulating gratitude to build a rogue sphere of influence. The story collapsed the day the Sylar Dominion's coastal cities drowned. A chain of typhoons shredded half their arcologies. Bureaucracy stalled. Earth's volunteer flotilla powered by barnacles skimmed in, guided by ghost weather models that updated thrice per minute. They patched seawalls with sails woven from self-healing polymer, planted mangroves engineered to root in seafloor concrete, then departed at dawn, leaving behind manuals in 20 languages and a farewell song broadcast on public waveband. Stand by me. Dominion senators wrote a thank you resolution the Assembly refused to docket. I shuttled between crisis zones, notebook bulging with tactile evidence, barnacle fins warm against frost, sacks of chips smelling like roasted cumin, hull plates born from vacuum printers. Everywhere I went, someone would say, half awed, half exasperated, "Those Terrans, they're impossible." And each time, embedded in the phrase, I heard new admiration. Frustration inside the assembly festered to fury. The security arm pushed for a quantum entanglement blockade, dense minefields at every wormhole mouth to detonate on any soul-derived FTL signature. I attended the closed-door strategy session as a guest historian, a courtesy they later regretted. Their diagrams were flawless. Spheres of overlapping sensor nets, minds keyed to spectral fingerprints of Terran drives. The operation would strand Earth inside its own star system. They deployed on a crisp, violet-eyed morning near Protean Gate. Hours later, a lieutenant noticed each mine broadcasting whale song at deafening petawatt amplitude, jamming the gate's guidance arrays. Engineers popped maintenance hatches. Firmware dazzled them with ASCII art dolphins. Diagnostic logs reference function, LIFA finds a way. Someone had replaced the warhead code with loops that rendered migrating ocean mammals for all eternity. The decision to mine a species whose entire adolescence was spent sending mixtapes to Voyager did not age well. That evening, I received an anonymous package, a seashell painted silver, etched with the coordinates of an old Terran relay. Inside lay a data crystal containing the mine firmware diff, and a handwritten note, English cursive, "Museums need souvenirs." I archived it at the Thren Memory Reef. Future students will study the line the way surgeons study a heartbeat. The assembly, desperate, pivoted. If they could not cage the Terrans, perhaps they could tarnish them. Investigators compiled a dossier thick as a dewback hide. Humanity's wars, extinctions, atrocities. They planned to broadcast it as a multi-system expose, proof that Earth was history's repeat offender, unworthy of trust. They would premiere it at the annual Harmony Festival on Lysios, where 3 billion viewers tuned in for choral eulogies and orbital lanterns. The night before release, every festival lantern launched early. They blossomed across Lysios' sky in a silent aurora, then rearranged into a sprawling, radiant timeline that depicted not human horrors, but collective resilience. The end of polio, the rewilding of Yellowstone, the signing of the Outer Space Debris Concord when Earth shockingly agreed to pay 60% of cleanup costs. Each lantern turned itself into a voxel in an impossible light mosaic dancing across 12 kilometers of sky. Spectators wept. The expose aired 2 hours late to a mostly empty audience. At that point, the Assembly's hawks admitted a sour truth. The harder they pushed, the faster Terran improvisation seeped through cracks, fertilizing every neglected frontier. Their embargo had become a marketing campaign. Member worlds queued for chiffed starter kits and barnacle seeds, their freighters using array ghost coordinates the Assembly couldn't decipher. The Council's legitimacy drained like coolant from a breached pipe. Exactly 1 year after the ban, Chair Emerged Newell Kest convened an emergency plenary to propose targeted reclamation. Translation: send cruisers to seize Terran assets and force compliance. Habit made me occupy my old balcony seat. Below, the floor glimmered with delegates blinking uncertainty. The plan passed 69 to 43. I noted every supporting polity. Someday children would count them the way humans once counted Trojan war captains. Strike Fleet Vela launched toward the Terran Taurus at Earth Moon L5. When they arrived, the Taurus was gone. In its place drifted a cloud of drones no bigger than coins, each projecting spoofed radar ghosts of empty vacuum. The real station, tug captains later revealed, had been towed to a sun-skimming heliocentric orbit months earlier under the guise of a Meteor Watch art project titled Nothing to See Here. Public files describing the move sat on the Assembly server the entire time, flagged as low-priority cultural nonsense. Strike Fleet Vela lingered 4 days scanning phantom echoes. Supply dwindled, morale cracked. One cruiser miscalibrated engines, nudged a coin drone, and triggered a spray of high-density glitter that etched "nice try" across its sensor dishes. The fleet limped home. The chair demanded accountability. Admirals pointed at data proving sabotage by rogue comedic actors. Analysts predicted a confidence crash. They were half right. The crash came, but it looked nothing like they expected. Let me describe the scene history we'll remember. 16 months post-ban, the Assembly Hall was half lit and half attended. Delegations claimed security concerns, though everyone knew embarrassment kept them home. Into that hollow shell strode a Navaran Hatch elder carrying a motion to reinstate Earth. She made no speeches. She simply unrolled tapestry-thin alloy panels forged in the rescued foundry. Curved reflections of starlight so pure the chamber glowed as though daybreak had slipped indoors. Every delegate could see their own face, and etched across the inner curve ran the phrase, "May the hand that mends be welcome." When the elder knelt, her 7 eye stalks tracked 7 directions, daring anyone to call the gift propaganda. None did. A quorum tallied votes. 91 for reinstatement, 25 against. The 4 original no votes joined the ayes. The rest scattered like startled fish. I waited outside the hall as Terran envoys arrived wearing comfortable sweaters instead of suits. Reporters crowded. One asked Ambassador Mabatha what lesson humanity had learned. She considered, then said, "Exclusion breeds either submission or invention. We prefer invention, but invention shared is harder to fear." She held up a barnacle seed, smaller than her thumb, silver in the noon sun. These belong to everyone now. Try gluing them to your pride. See if it cools. A laugh rippled over cameras. None recoiled. After the ceremony, I found a message in my embassy inbox. No sender, just an ASCII dolphin. Inside, schematics for Project Food Court, autonomous pods that roam famine worlds, converting sand, rot, and seawater into balanced soup with whatever spices locals considered home. Code annotated in 14 languages. Punchline comments sprinkled like cayenne. I archived it at the Thran Reef with whisper-level priority. By next season, we'll deploy prototypes in our equatorial drought zones. I suspect everyone else got the same package. I suspect that was the real reinstatement gift, a reminder that doors swing both ways when the hinges are knowledge and humor. Historians love morals. I hesitate, yet one writes itself. Trying to cage the species that turned a leaking tin can call the ISS into the first barbershop in orbit is like boarding up a river. The water finds seams, cuts new canyons, and eventually the valley downstream thanks the flood for its fertile silt. The Spiral Assembly tried to bar humanity from the garden. Humanity giggled, hopped the fence, and tilled the weeds into salad. I record this not to flatter Homo sapiens, but to warn future councils tempted by the same arrogance. If you fear the wild vigor of a civilization, do not banish it. You will merely supply wind to its wings. Instead, seat it beside you, share your maps, and ask for help coloring the blank parts. Odds are they already packed extra crayons. And if you doubt me, look up tonight. Somewhere in the dark, a mind built to imprison is singing whale songs nobody ordered, kept company by Terran satellites flashing jokes in languages whales will never learn. It is the universe's most improbable lullaby, and it ends with a punchline we are still learning to pronounce. Welcome back, friends. Try to keep up.